Mabuhay Pariko. This is Graphic Tales, the YouTube show for comic book readers, comic book creators, comic book publishers, and anyone who's ever put a Tic Tac in their mouth and gotten a bang out of life. This show is designed to help and encourage comic book creators as they delve into the world of comic book publishing. And I know it seems like every episode is doom and gloom, so this one I want to take a little bit of a different approach. This week is going to be doom and gloom. Imagine that. Now, back in December, in episode 3 of Graphic Tales, I did an episode about comic book distribution, and I talked about how, you may or may not want to distribute your comic, and exactly just what that entails, and how much you can expect to get in terms of money and sales if you go through the traditional comic book distribution system, which means Diamond Comic Distributors. So, very brief recap. This isn't going to be a history lesson, but I do need to get these facts out there for you. Item: Diamond Comics Distributors went into business in 1982, and by 1997 became the sole comic book distributor in North America. Item: During the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, DC Comics announced they were discontinuing their agreement with Diamond, taking their business to another distributor. Over the next 5 years, every other major comics publisher followed suit and left Diamond. Item: On January 14th, 2025, Diamond filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The company has until April 1st, 2025 to find a buyer or face closure and layoffs of all employees. So, not good news. Not good news for large publishers, not good news for small publishers, not good news for mid-sized publishers, not good news for retailers, not good news for anyone. Diamond was a monopoly for, like 25 years? There were no other distributors in North America. And for the most part, they did their job, and they did it to the best of their ability. There were some snags here and there. There were occasional glitches with Diamond, and retailers would complain about a new policy, or publishers would complain about a new policy. But that just goes with the territory. They have to keep changing their policies based on market factors, and one of the factors that we've been facing over the last, it's been like 25 years, has been declining sales. So it's been really, really tough for everyone. And Diamond, at one point, they did have to impose a minimum order threshold. So smaller publishers who weren't selling that many books were finding themselves being dropped by Diamond because they were only selling a few hundred copies of an issue. And Diamond said, yeah, look, we just, it's not cost effective for us to distribute these small press titles. So, there's been ups, there's been downs, but for the most part, at least for me, it was all ups, because without Diamond, I wouldn't be where I am today. Bill Shannis, I think I mentioned in another episode, Bill Shannis took me into his office back in 1987 and looked at my book and said, we'll give you a shot. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll carry your book, Daikazu. It was a different time back then. But, now, what do we do? If Diamond goes under, it's going to affect a lot of people. And it kind of looks like that's where things are going. They lost all of their major suppliers. All of the big and mid-sized publishers have all gone to either Penguin Random House, or PRH, we call it, or Lunar. Lunar is the one that deals with DC and a lot of the mid-sized publishers. However, according to an email that went out from American Mythology Productions, who I used to work for, and they have licenses like, Night of the Living Dead and Hatchet and Three Stooges and a lot of really well-known properties, and they've been in business for quite a while. They were turned down by Lunar. They approached Lunar and Lunar said nope. So if they can't get distributed by Lunar, that means that they're looking at only high-tier sellers, right? So where does that leave all of the rest of us who self-publish? Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be, if Diamond goes under, we won't be able to distribute our stuff. So there are two ways to look at this. One is hope for a miracle, or two, take hold of the reins and do it yourself. God damn it, So in the first theory of a hope for a miracle, what if Diamond survives? What if they sell off a lot of their assets, because they were talking about splitting up the company? They have a lot of different divisions. There's a game distribution part and a toy distribution, so they were going to sell off parts. Maybe they'll have enough to take care of the people they owe money to and reform the company. Wouldn't it be great if Diamond became the home for small publishers, for indie publishers? That would be really cool. Now, they would have to make some pretty serious cutbacks, because let's be honest, the people ordering our stuff are few and far between. If you're doing like superhero stuff like Marvel and DC and some of the other Marvel and Dark Horse and the bigger companies, they've been doing it for a long time. They're really good at it, and they're the best there is at doing what they do. And we can't really compete with that, So if you're trying to sell a superhero comic in the indie market, you may not have much luck, because it's already being done by somebody else who has a much greater market reach than, like say me. If I was to do a superhero book, I can go out there and I can yell about it all day and all night, every day of the week, and say, listen, I have a new take on superheroes. No one's ever seen anything like this before. No one's going to pay attention, because people who like superhero books are already buying superhero books from Marvel and DC and the other companies, and those companies themselves, they've already done it's new, it's different, we've turned everything upside down, and it's what you love except bold and new. They've already done it multiple times. So anything that you and I could figure out to come up with this great new concept of superheroes, good luck selling it, So, indie comics, at least since I've been around, has really been an extension of the underground comics movement. It was stuff that was subversive and counterculture, and it wasn't mainstream fare. And that's, has always been one of the allures of indies. Look at my Daikazu and Widow and, the crazy stuff that I've done. It does not fit into the, mainstream comics mold. And that's worked to my advantage. And, now that, if Diamond disappears and there's no more distribution available to smaller publishers like me, what options does that leave us? Oh, I know. Kickstarter, right? You hear this in every single episode from me. I'm telling you, Kickstarter. So, luckily for me, I gave up on Diamond like quite a while ago, and I just said, look, this isn't working for me. I'm going to go, full steam into crowdfunding and reaching backers that way, reaching readers that way, in the form of backers who donate money to get the project created. And it's been working phenomenally for me. And as I've explained in previous episodes, the Kickstarter creator keeps just about all the money, except for what they pay out for creative expenses. They're not splitting the money with a distributor and a retailer and all of that, so it's really, really working for me. And so I predict that maybe that might be what we see, that we see an explosion in crowdfunding platforms. Currently, I would recommend Kickstarter. Indiegogo is pretty good. There's Zoop. There's a whole bunch of crowdfunding platforms that you can get your indie comic out there. And there are people who subscribe to those services who are there for the explicit reason of finding new, cool books that they're not going to find in a comic book shop. So, it's going to be really tough for retailers if Diamond goes under. But for publishers, don't panic, because we've been working on a system subversively, for like the last 10 years, anticipating this eventuality. So I'm going to talk more about how to crowdfund your comics in the future, because I think this is going to be really, really super important for all of us who are creators. A lot of people bash Diamond. I've seen a lot of stuff online, the news reports are coming out about what's going on in the bankruptcy and all of that. And I see people saying, good riddance. I hope they burn. The hell with them. And I'm like, man, you are wishing for the wrong thing. You have no idea what you're talking about. Just because they had a policy that you didn't agree with, that was probably countermanded within a year and it went away. Just because you've gotten damaged books and you've had trouble getting replacements for them, or just because you've had, cash flow problems because a check was lost in the mail or whatever, you're wishing for the downfall of the framework of the independent comics movement. The framework has been Diamond Comics Distributors. And without them, we're going to have to scramble. But we can survive. We absolutely can survive because we have the other avenues available to us. So, fingers crossed that, we'll see what happens. And I wish the best for all of my friends that I have friends that work at Diamond. I'm hoping for the best for them. But as I said, I'm just dreaming, but I'm just thinking, man, if Diamond can pull out of this and they can square things with all their debtors, wouldn't it be awesome if they became the distribution network for small press? And all of the focus was on them, and indie comics publishers did not have to compete with Marvel and DC and Image and IDW and all the big companies in that previews catalog. Wouldn't it be cool if the focus was on us for a change? We'll see what happens. So that's it for this week. Next week, we're going to talk about no doom and gloom. Although actually, it probably will be, but keep a stiff upper lip, have yourself a Campari, and I'll see you guys next week.